your afternoon home for Kings talk and so much more. The Drive Guys on Sactown Sports.
We're tipping off our series of Kings callbacks here, and there's no better King to do it with than this gentleman who was in this video. That's why Jay's playing that. He was a number 7 pick in 92, 3+ seasons in Sac, 11 NBA seasons overall. The Wizard, Walt Williams. How are you, Walt?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How you doing?
We're doing great. Which was more fun for you, being in that movie, Eddie with Whoopi, or doing that video with Hootie and the Blowfish?
Oh, man, that's a toss-up. It was both fun times, first experience with both. So it was a great experience, especially being on the set with Whoopi Goldberg. But, you know, being in that video with Hootie and the Blowfish, I didn't even know who those guys were before being in that video. So a couple of them from Maryland, so they were fans of mine, and so they wanted me to be in the video. So you know, that's how I was a part of that. But it was a great experience. We had so much fun.
I was going to ask you how'd that all come about, but you know, you grew up in the D.C. area, Maryland area. You know, everybody knows you from the thick tube socks. You know, Walt, I grew up in Philly, and that was a staple of D.C., man. There's a rap group, Major Figures. They used to say thick tube socks. I rock like I'm from D.C. Just what was that time like, man, and that staple of yours having the thick tube socks?
It was awesome times, you know. I didn't just wear the high socks when I played basketball. I wore them all the time. So if you saw me in regular clothes, regular shorts out in the streets and where I had high socks on, man. So it was just something that felt comfortable to me. I was a big George Gervin fan, the Iceman, and so when I used to watch highlights of him, and he had the high socks. And I remember one day playing in an inter-squad scrimmage game at the University of Maryland, and I pulled my socks up to play in that game, and I played incredible in that game. From that point on, I had the high socks, man.
Walt Williams with us, the Wizards. You were a great three-point shooter, and you took about 4 a game in your career. How many would you be taking if you played today, you think?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, at least 10, you know?
Yes. And you'd be making a 5 or 6.
Hey, man, they encourage you to shoot the 3 ball. And, you know, by the time you get to 10 shots, you're going to get into a rhythm taking that many threes. So, man, I would love to play in this environment where the perimeter is not as physical. You can't be as handsy, you know, hand checking guys and things like that. And so you can kind of roam around free on the perimeter and attack the basket. And so that threat, being able to be that threat and shoot the ball, man, I would love to play in this environment for sure.
Walt, you grew up out on the East Coast out there in, you know, the D.C., Maryland area. You played your college ball at Maryland. You get drafted by the Sacramento Kings. What was your initial thought on that first trip to Sacramento and you making Sacramento home while you played here?
Oh, man, I remember the trainer, I think his name's Larry. He picked me up from the airport, and on the way to the hotel, we rode past Arco Arena. And so at that time, it just sat on a field, just a big field, nothing around it. And at this time, I mean, I saw like about 500 sheep out there on the land running around. And I was thinking to myself, oh, man, I thought I was coming to California, you know, like, where am I? You know, so it was a bit of a culture shock coming from the city, the DMV, being from from the East Coast, and not only coming to the West Coast, but coming to Sacramento. Is a different part of California that I wasn't aware of. So, but it was great people there. I had fun times. The fans were off the hook, man. I mean, you know, playing in the different arenas and having an 11-year career. I was really blessed to play in front of some great fans, and the Kings fans was certainly one of them.
Yeah, Walt Williams with us, and you played here 3+ years. First 2 seasons, the team wasn't great. Year 3, you guys just missed the playoffs. Can you tell us what it was like? Not only you mentioned the fans, but playing with Mitch and Spud and OP and our guy Henry Turner. What was it like being on that team?
Oh man, it was fun times. I remember, those guys were instrumental in my growth. They really taught me how to be a professional and not just a baller. You know, and the reason why I respected those guys as a young boy coming in there and hooping with these guys, I looked at them as older and veteran guys, and at a different time frame than me. But what really helped me identify with them is just hanging out with them off the court. Mm. We had some good times, man. We would hang out, and it would be, a wide range from Rancho Cordova to little Malarkey on Pocket Road.
Oh, snap! Okay.
Man. So, hey, we hung out, man, and we had good times, identified with the community, and really spent time with each other, and I got to know those guys, and they were like my brothers, man, and they would really share advice with me. I remember early on as a rookie, and my first couple of practices, I remember having this really good practice one day, and I was in the locker room, just really, I guess you could see it on my face how excited I was about the practice I just had. And I'll never forget Wayman Tisdale. He said to me, "Hey, young fella, you had a good practice today and you're feeling good about yourself." And he said, "Hey, if you remember when you went into that room and you saw all those guys standing around when you was about to sign that contract, they all had smiles on their face and they were telling you how great you are, and you're going to be for the program or for the team." And he said, soon when you signed that you shook their hand, and when you turned around and before you got out that door, they were on the phone trying to find somebody better than you. Mm. And they don't stop. They don't stop until they find that person, So I was just like, what? I was just being hooping, having fun.
Right.
And so, but you understand, and it was, I was lucky enough to have veterans that were real with me early on, because, that's what the league is about. Just getting there, that's the easy part in terms of the process. When you're talking about making to the next level, but you spend the rest of your career fending guys off from trying to take your spot or take your living from you, and it's new crops of guys coming in every year that's going to get an opportunity. So he say to me, "Look, you got to answer this question after every year. We get these coaches, they get a whole year of film on you, and they know everything you do." And then when you come back the next year, they're going to stop that. So the question at the end of every year is, what else do you have? And if you can't answer that question, go ahead and turn the salt shaker over, because that time is going to be limited from that point on. Wow. The clock is running out on you. And so those type of real conversations with a Spud Webb, Mitch Richmond, Wayman Tisdale, proven guys that had gotten it done. You learn from that, and you take it as reality, and you try to work from that knowledge.
Walt, tell me about your rookie season here in Sac. I'm looking at the numbers. You averaged 17 points per game. You had Wayman Tisdale yourself. You had the L Train on your squad. You guys had a 6-game win streak in December and January, Walt. And I'm looking, you beat Dallas by 58. You beat Philly by 56. You had 40 points in that game. Why wasn't that group more successful that season, you think?
Oh, man, we were getting banged up a lot. You mentioned me averaging 17. Mitch Richmond, Wayman Tisdale, L Train. I was the fourth leading scorer on the team. So all of those guys averaged more than 17. They was averaging around between like 18, 19, and Mitch was averaging about like 25, 26 a game. So we could score on teams at will. But we had a lot of injuries. So Wayman Tisdale was at the tail end, so he would get hurt a lot. L Train, and so it was tough to stay consistent.
Looks like Mitch played 45 games that year too. Mitch was banged up that year too.
Yeah, and it was tough to stay consistent, especially on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Mitch don't get enough credit, or they talk about the way he scored the basketball, but he was a heck of a defensive player too. So he was one of our best defensive players, him and Randy Brown. So it was tough to have guys like that missing. So it was tough to get consistency, and we needed, though we was missing key guys. So it was tough.
Walt Williams is with us, the Wizard. And I know that you've obviously led a blessed life, but in your career, you were close to some real unfortunate events. I know, if I'm not mistaken, you were here when Bobby Hurley got hurt. And also you were at Maryland not long after Len Bias passed away. Now, you and Tony Massenberg, another former King, you guys actually wrote a book, Lessons from Lenny. Can you share with us what you learned as a young man, as a basketball player from the whole Len Bias story, which of course shook not only the program but shook the country?
Well, yeah, he was like a god, man. In this area, in this community, and for something like that to happen to someone like him, it was just tragic. I think that one thing I took away from that personally is what drugs could do to you. Like I said earlier, I thought that dude was superhuman, and for it to have that type of effect on him, it definitely had a profound effect on me in understanding what that could do to even a superior athlete. Also, you understood that out of that tragedy, the positive things that came out of that. For instance, the tragic situation in his death had the NCAA uncover what was the graduation rate like, and so from that point, you saw the efforts at the University of Maryland. They put more resources into that, and the graduation rate has skyrocketed since. You saw so many players like myself, big guards, wing guys that could shoot the ball, go in the post, handle, all that versatility, and being able to, if you talk to most of us, we have a cool swag about us, a smooth swag about us when we get interviewed, and that's all from watching a guy like Len Bias, such a dominant force, an aggressive force on the court, but a sense of humbleness in the tone in which he talked.
Walt Williams, the Wizard, joining us. I got so many questions for you, Walt. I guess I'll go this route. Your nickname, the Wizard. I know why you have it. How did you get it?
Oh, right quick before I go there, just one mention of Bobby Hurley.
Oh yeah, please.
Man, that was one of the scariest times of my life. As a matter of fact, that evening, me, him, and Mike Poplawski, we were the last three to leave the locker room. And man, so when I got the call that he was in the hospital, I thought it was just a rumor because I had just seen him a few moments before. And luckily enough, Mike Poplawski lived in the same neighborhood that he lived in, and so he was one of the guys that helped.
He saved his life, right? I think he pulled him out of the water and saved his life.
Absolutely. He came a few minutes later afterwards and saw the accident, and I believe Bobby was throwing like 100-some yards out of his car, and so he was out there searching for him and happened to come across him, and it was just in time, or we could be talking differently about Bobby Hurley. So it was one of the scariest moments, scariest nights of my life, and once again, you just go through times like that, and you just have strength in the Lord and knowing that there's a higher power.
Wow.
Walt Williams. So, go ahead, Walt.
Yeah.
So I got my nickname, the Wizard, man, because in college, we used to play pickup games in the off season, and my boy Jesse Martin, one of my roommates, he used to call me Wizzy Walt, and so. It was an assistant coach, Ralph Lee, man. He unbeknownst to me at the time, he was the coach assigned to my development. And so this dude used to be, he used to be waiting outside my dorm room for me in the morning times, waiting for me. And when I come out the door, he'd be ready to go to work, so he was just around on me all the time. And he really helped me develop the growth from my freshman year to my sophomore year. I made a big jump because of that guy, Ralph Lee. And so, but after hearing Jesse call me Wizzy, Ralph just used to start calling me the Wizard. And so we used to, like I said, we used to play pickup games. And Coach Wade saw me out there one day, and I was making tricky passes and things like that, man. And so he used to call me Magic for a little while. But then when Ralph told him about him calling me the Wizard, Coach Wade started calling me the Wizard, and after a while, my teammates started calling me that, and it sort of stuck from there.
Yeah, Walt Williams is with us. Looking at your career, you played, of course, for the Kings, the Rockets, Toronto, Portland, Dallas, Miami, and I know you talked about the fans already, but honestly, is there, and this was a while ago, I know you played here in 93, 94, was there at that time, was the relationship between the Kings and the fans, was it a little unique from what it was like in any other NBA city with any other team?
Oh, absolutely, man. The cowbells and all of that, man, that was insane, man. It was crazy. It was crazy times. And, we wasn't a really successful team back then, but it was sellout crowds. I think it was like a record. We set a record for a consecutive sellout crowds. And the fan support was just off the chain. And then after the games, we would go to Fridays, get something to eat, and the fans would be there as well. And it was just good times, and it was cool that when we would when we would leave out of the garage, we're leaving out of the tunnel, the fans would sit at the top of the tunnel and wait for us to cheer us on and stuff. And back in those days, man, we would roll the windows down and fans would stick their arms in our cars with things for us to autograph. We sit there, autographs, give autographs and everything, man, to the fans and, for about 10, 15 minutes and then roll out, And so it was just a real personal effect. A personal relationship that the players had with the fans, man. It was just something that was unique, and it was something that I had never experienced with any other team.
It's still going on, Walt, because people have been excited all day that we're having you on today.
Yeah, people are fired up, man. Yeah, they're like, our boy Campio, I used to see Walt at Paradise Beach Club back in the day. Oh, yeah, look at it. You remember that?
Hey, I was all over, man. I just want to touch the community.
Exactly. You're a man of the people. I get it. Walt, let me ask you this, man. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. You grew up in the DMV, D.C., Maryland, and I'm going to include Baltimore in this question. Greatest player from that area? KD, Carmelo, yourself, somebody I don't know, because you've had some great ballers to come through. Sam Cassell, I could throw in there?
Yeah, well, for me, it's limb bias. It's the ground level, man. That's the ground level, And then I put myself, because me coming behind now, you look at the dudes that came behind me, they all are that same type of players, 6'7" and up, versatile guards that can take you to the post and can score everywhere, and of course, the guys with the high stocks, man. So I think that a lot of guys mimic from this area, mimic my style of play, and then bring it to the masses. And I think we were ahead of the curve. In my neighborhood, the local high school team that I played on back in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, right? I was a center when I was in high school, but I used to shoot threes on the post game, all of that. And I played against the guys that I played against, it was very seldom. The only high school player in my league that played with his back to the basket was Dickie Simpkins.
Yeah, I remember.
The Chicago Bulls. We played in public school. Just in the neighborhood, it was just pros. And high quality college players. But we were lucky enough to play for high school coaches that allowed us to play versatile, to play outside and if we had that capability. And majority of the centers in my high school league were like that. So, and I didn't play on a team until, boys and girls and AAU. I didn't do any of that. I was a pure street ball player until I was in high school. My freshman year in high school on JV was the first time I ever played on a team before. So, when you play pickup games in the street, There's no posting up, waiting for a guard to bring it down and throw it in the post. If you can't handle the ball, and you're not gonna get that many shots. And I always wanted to score. So, you quickly learn to handle that ball, man. So I was lucky enough in my younger days to play against guys that allowed me to play versatile basketball.
Wiz, as we said, I believe you were a former Maverick. Do you have any thoughts on the Mavericks and Celtics? You pull for the Mavericks in this series?
Oh man, I just watch. I like to watch the games, man. I like individual players rather than teams. Mavs was a fantastic organization. Mark Cuban, great owner. I remember the planes that they had was at a different level than the other teams I played for. I tell you that. Except maybe the exception of the Trailblazers. I mean, that guy had nice plays as well. So, but just a quality owner. The unique thing about playing for the Mavs is that an owner could sit that close and watch the game, and you didn't have a feeling of, oh my God, the owner's here, watching over every move. Right. He truly, really was a fan out there, and it felt like that as a player, even though he was an owner sitting right there, that close. It felt like he was a fan and he was vested to that level, and it was great to play for an owner like that.
The Wizard, Walt Williams, joining the Drive guys here, Sactown Sports, 1140. Walt, when I have guests who played in your era on, I always like to ask this question. I'm 49 years old, Wiz. I seen Jordan play. I lived the Jordan area. I'm a Magic guy at heart. LeBron, to me, however, is my GOAT. What say you as a guy that went against MJ, had to guard him, had to play him? What say you?
No question, it's Jordan for me, brother.
Come on, man.
Listen, I think LeBron, stat-wise, he has the stats. I think he's the greatest athlete we ever seen. But the basketball player part, man, I mean, Jordan was just something else. And just the dominance. I mean, this guy is so dominant that these guys that play the game now don't even think a guy like Clyde Drexler was that good. That's how dominant Jordan was, And so I think that you could talk about guys like KD and Steph, and you could talk about those guys and talk about their greatness in that lane, because I don't think LeBron was as dominant over the star players like a Jordan was in his era, playing against those great players, man. And also, I might be a little biased because I can give you two quick stories, man. So my first, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I was a rookie, I didn't play until the last preseason game. And so, we're going through negotiations with the contract or whatever. So I didn't sign until the last game. And I didn't sign until the night before. We were playing like in Sioux Falls, I think. We was playing against the Bulls. So that was my first game. My first game was against the Bulls. So I come out there, and I don't know any of the plays. I don't know any of the players really, because I arrived on the day of the game. So, he just told me run the floor, make basketball plays. We're gonna run some pick and rolls, things like that. Just the basic things. And so one play we ran was a pick and roll with me and Mitch. I was the ball handler, a 3-2 pick and roll. So Jordan's guarding Mitch, and Pippen's guarding me. So we go off the pick and roll. What's anticipated is they switch. Now Pippen is on Mitch. Pippen wasn't that great defender like he ended up being at this point in his career. Jordan was still the more dominant defensive player at this point. So the play was supposed to be for me to throw it back to Mitch and him isolate against Pippen. But when I came off the pick and roll and I saw Jordan in front of me, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to tell my boys that I got the So I came down, I gave him my wicked crossover, and he stole it, went down and did the emblem dunk. Bam, right? And then he tapped me on the butt on the way back and said, hey, man, we watch film up here. I knew you was going to do that fake crossover. Right? So I was thinking to myself, oh, my goodness, I haven't even played a game yet. And these dudes he's watching film. So I knew it was another level right there. And my last story is when I played with the Toronto Raptors, the year that the Bulls went 72-10.
Mm-hmm.
The following year, if you remember, they went 69-13, almost back-to-back 70 win game seasons. And so one of their losses was against Toronto in that 69. And we might have won 25, 30 games a year. So we were not a solid team, but we were that night. And so I remember going into the game is me and Doug Christie. Doug Christie was the two guard for Toronto. Doug normally guard Jordan, and I would guard Pippen. And so, but Darrell Walker, this particular night, he would write the opposing starting five, and then our starting five, who's matched up with who. I see him on the board. I have Jordan. I think to myself, oh, he got me and Doug in the wrong spot. So I go out there and get my shots up. I go get my shots up. When I come back, I see, oh, I'm still beside Jordan. Okay, I got Jordan tonight. Well, all right, my assignment was just to push some baseline to Marcus Camby and Carlos Rogers, two like 6'11" guys with 7'3" wingspan. So, we would double team him. He would try to stop short, and I would defend it, and he had an off night that night. We beat him. I had like 20-something points, and Jordan had maybe like 12 or 13. So the reporters were killing him, talking about how well I did and all of this, man. So it's one of those Bradford Smith stories. So I know that was not a made-up story because it happened to me in real life. Like 2 weeks later, we play him in Chicago, and right before tip-off, he looks at me and he goes, I remember that trash you was talking last game. We all are pros here. Outwardly, I'm saying, okay, yeah, let's go. But inside, I'm thinking to myself, dude, I didn't say anything. That was the
media.
That was the media. There's no quotes of me in there, So, needless to say, in that game right there, he gave me 44. I don't even think he played in the fourth quarter of that game either. So he's pretty hot. And look, before that game, when I saw my name beside Jordan in the second game, I thought to myself, yeah, I do. I got him tonight. I got him.
Oh, you're feeling confident going in.
I'm feeling good.
That's incredible.
So Jordan's the best, man.
You're the best. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Hopefully we can catch up with you again soon. Thank you very much, Walt Williams.
All right, good job.
All right, my guy. All right, man. That's awesome, man. That's amazing. Dang. And the thing is, Whitey, everybody that plays against Jordan has a story like that.
Yeah.
It's like Jordan didn't let anybody off the hook. Yeah. Wow, that's tremendous.
I just want to say something real quick because you were asking him about that year, 95, where they just missed the playoffs by one game. And look at this, Kyle. That year, Kings fans remember this. They were on Valentine's Day. Actually go a few days later. February 18th, they were 28-20.
Dang.
Yeah,
so
and
they
then
were
look,
good, huh?
Look here. L.
What happened?
I think,
injuries,
like you said, he got hurt.
Injuries,
I think that was the year Mitch was like the All-Star Game MVP. It was incredible.
That was a great year.
Oh, my goodness.
We're good.
They just came up short. Then the next year, they punched through. But the next year was when I think Walt played with him for a while. And I think they, as he said, they're always looking for somebody else.
Yeah.
They actually dealt him.
That's great stuff.
Incredible. Thank you, Jay, for
setting that up.
Yeah, lining that up. When we come back, hey, JaVale McGee says other teams weren't afraid of the Kings. So how in the world did the Kings fix that? Drive Guys, back with that on Sactown Sports.
I'm Ken.